The rancher had been dying for weeks, though no one in the dusty stretch of land beyond the red mesas wanted to say it out loud. Not even him, because saying it made it real, and reality had already taken too much from Eli Turner. His wife was buried beneath the old cottonwood tree. His son had ridden east chasing dreams that never wrote back, and now his lungs burned like wildfire with every breath. The doctor in the nearest town, 3 hours away, had left him with a single vial of medicine. Rare, expensive, and meant to last him just long enough to put his affairs in order. But fate had its own plans. That night, when the moon hung low and red like a wounded eye in the sky, Eli heard soft footsteps near his porch. He thought it was a coyote at first. Then he heard a cough. Small, fragile, human. When he opened the door, he saw a girl no older than 10, trembling, wrapped in a torn shawl, her skin burning with fever, her eyes too wise for her years. She was native, from the distant hills where his people rarely went and where stories were whispered about spirits, shamans, and ancient ways. She collapsed at his feet before he could say a word. Eli carried her inside, laid her on his bed, and felt the weight of a decision pressing against his ribs harder than the sickness ever had. The girl's breathing was shallow, her lips cracked, her body convulsing with heat. He checked the vial in his trembling hands, his last medicine. Without it, he might not see another sunrise. With it, she might. And in that quiet, flickering moment beside a dying lantern, Eli Turner made a choice that would rewrite his fate. He poured the medicine into her mouth, drop by precious drop, whispering, "Live, little one. One of us should." By morning, she was gone. The bed was empty. Panic clawed at him. Had she died? Had he imagined her? Had his sickness finally taken his mind? Then he saw it, an eagle feather resting gently where her head had been. Eli laughed weakly, then coughed until blood stained his handkerchief. He didn't know that in a village beyond the hills, a shaman had awakened from a vision that shook his bones. He had seen a white-bearded man, glowing like dying embers, handing his life to a child. And in their sacred traditions, such an act did not go unanswered. As the sun rose, Eli drifted in and out of consciousness, his body finally surrendering. He was sure this was the end. Then he heard chanting, low, ancient, real. His door opened, and in stepped a tall, weathered man wrapped in ceremonial cloth, eyes deep as time itself. Behind him stood the little girl, alive, steady, no longer burning with fever. The shaman knelt beside Eli's bed and placed his palm on the rancher's chest. "You gave what was not yours to give," he said softly. "Life." Eli tried to speak but couldn't. The shaman closed his eyes, chanting words older than the land itself. Words that curled through the air like smoke and thunder. The room grew warm. The walls seemed to breathe. Eli felt something inside him shift, like a river breaking through stone. Pain loosened its grip. Breath came easier. And for the first time in weeks, he slept without coughing. When he woke, the sunlight was blinding. His chest didn't burn. His limbs didn't shake. He stood, slowly trembling, and realized he was not dying. The shaman had vanished, leaving only a carved stone beside the eagle feather. Later that day, townsfolk rode in, stunned to see Eli walking, breathing, alive. Word spread like wildfire. The dying rancher had been visited by a tribal shaman. Some called it nonsense. Others called it a miracle. But Eli didn't care what they called it. He only knew one thing. His life was no longer his alone. From that day on, he turned his ranch into a refuge, feeding the hungry, sheltering travelers, and helping native families who had once been ignored or feared. Years later, when his son finally returned, he found not a bitter old man, but a living legend. And when Eli passed, it was not alone, but surrounded by those whose lives he had touched. They buried him beneath the cottonwood tree beside his wife, and the little girl, now grown, placed an eagle feather on his grave, because kindness, when given freely, echoes beyond death. And if stories like this move your heart, remind you of humanity, and show you the power of one selfless choice, then don't forget to subscribe to the channel, because every story here is crafted to inspire, uplift, and stay with you long after the screen fades to black.